Hey there, everyone. Jason here. I believe we are live, but I'm going to double check on Facebook itself because the one time I don't check is the one time it will not work. And there is my smiling face. We are now live. So, hey there, I'm Jason Logston, and this is Exploring Sous Vide. We're all about helping you get the most out of your sous vide machine while talking to some of the biggest names in the industry. I'm excited to get started today. We have a great guest. But first, today's sponsor is the ISVA Infusions Showcase. If you are interested in infusions, you need to check this out. Because from tea and coffee to flavored vinegars and oils, and even many traditional soda pops, infusions are a part of our daily lives. Now they're becoming more prevalent as many talented chefs and bartenders are creating custom infusions for use in food and cocktails. Join 6 talented cooks on October 10th as they explore sous vide infusions and demo delicious recipes, including a cinnamon smoked Carmen Miranda cocktail with banana infused bourbon from Chef David Petranczyk and a pear frangipane tart with hibiscus ginger infused vodka from Lisa Keys. I've seen that video already, and it is amazing what she does with it. So I'm looking forward to doing that, as well as many more. The best part is it is free, so you can check it out. Sign up at the link I just posted in the comments. I'm going to be demoing, and today's guest is also going to be demoing. If you're just joining us, say hi in the comments. Let us know what you've been cooking lately, and let us know questions for our guest. So, on to the show. Sous vide can be applied to a wide variety of foods, from home cooking to professional kitchens, from Italian and American to Bolivian and Brazilian. And today's guest is the perfect person to help us navigate those waters. He is a certified culinarian and professional cook. He has earned scholarships and won awards, as well as been featured in a MasterChef cookbook, Voyage magazine, and Taste of America, Texas. He served successful internships in renowned restaurants like Eculent, featured in the Washington Post as one of the best restaurants in the world, and Indigo, one of Time Magazine's World's Greatest Places 2019. He's also a brand ambassador for Crowd Cow Craft Meats and Forge to Table Knives. I can't wait to learn from today's guest, Thiago Quirino from Robusto Food House. Thiago, welcome to Exploring Sous Vide.
Hi, Jason. Thanks for the invitation. I'm very excited for our talk.
We got some fun people joining us here. We have Lisa Keys. How's it going, Lisa? Looking forward to seeing your demo. And rumor has it Lisa is on next week, so make sure you tune in and you can get a lot more from her. I'm looking forward to that. We have Valeria Llanos. Welcome, Valerie. Mike Lashardi saying hi to my mom, who's also joining here, moderating the comments, trying to keep all the riffraff in line, like Kevin Liddell and Darren Wilson when they jump in. And Lisa says, love Thiago, the most kind and generous chef, which is echoed by Valeria.
Yeah, Valeria, it's my fiance. That's why she's gonna put nice comments about me.
So she's biased. You have to make sure.
Very biased.
We also have Allison joining us. How's it going, Allison? It's great to have you back watching again. So if you're just joining, say hi and let me know any questions you have for Thiago. I'm very excited to dive into some of the really cool creative things that you do. But before we get started, I always like to ask, what is it like around your dinner table on a typical day?
Let's say for tonight, I don't think we have dinner yet, but I'm probably gonna prepare after this. But usually it's trying different dishes and creating, because we do most of our meals to go for Sunday. We cook on Sunday morning or Saturday. We do some mise en place, but for during the week we like to try different recipes, new recipes, so that way we can sell to our clients on the weekend. So it's a little bit of everything.
What do you have on your upcoming list of things to try that you're excited for?
Today, probably tomorrow. Today I'm gonna start, probably do it tomorrow. I'm doing short ribs, stroganoff with homemade gnocchi.
Oh, nice. What's the main ingredient in your gnocchi? Is it a ricotta or a potato?
Potatoes, yes. I like to use the potatoes because that's what my mom used to make. But I have to try a few different things as well.
Have to make sure you have it all covered in case people ask about it. All right.
Absolutely.
And you just graduated from culinary school. Is that true? Or is that next week?
It's next week. Yes, I still have one more week to go, but it's pretty much done. There's not much to do.
Well, congratulations. That's a huge accomplishment.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
What's next on your list to tackle now that you've got culinary school under your belt?
Well, I want to do a little bit of everything, but specifically focusing. I'm going to start next week consulting for a local restaurant, and also we're doing cooking classes for Robusto Food. So we're going to have a few people over. We're going to go to people's home as well for cooking classes and cater. I'm getting a few requests for a wedding. They have a small wedding for next week. So it's a little bit everything. Plus, I want to do some more internships. I think it's good for me to learn from different chefs. And we have one of the best here in Houston now. So I'm pretty excited to reach out to them and just at least if I can do once or twice a week, it would be awesome already.
That's super. That's very, very cool. You seem to recreate a lot of cultural food. I think in a lot of our sous vide groups, we see a lot of Italian American and burgers and steaks, but you do Bolivian, Latin American, Brazilian. How have you been able to integrate sous vide into that process, and what benefit have you noticed?
Well, for sure, if we talk about chicken or beef, it's for the tenderness. It's very soft. I like to play with the same recipe they have, plus I change a different type of meats. The marinating, I like to keep it very traditional as much as I can, but it's really hard to do a super traditional, for example, Bolivian food in Houston because we don't have the same ingredients. But I always like to keep as original as possible, but use sous vide to marinate a better way. Or I like to, if I have to brine it or marinate a little before that, and I use sous vide just to make sure that I hit all the temperatures that I like to.
How did you learn about all these various cuisines? Has your own background informed the process?
Well, two things. First, because I like to travel, so I had experienced food in different places. Also, because we in Houston, we have a very diverse food industry. So we can go to so many different places here. I believe New York is very close. And in culinary school, we have international cuisine as well. So every week we're cooking a different food from different country. So, and I love to do the research on my own. Even though, for example, simple example, the stroganoff I want to do for next week, it's a very popular dish in Brazil, in US, and in France because it migrate with the people. And I noticed that every little place they have a different stroganoff recipe. So I was like, well, I tried many of those. Maybe I can create a little bit between the Italian version to the Russian version, and then just put some Brazilian on it. And I like to experiment. It's all about the flavor at the end of the day.
That's awesome. I love taking the various, something that's so different in different parts of the world. Like a curry, I feel like is very similar, that depending where you are, it means a very different thing. And then kind of combining the idea of that into a kind of brand new dish that you're borrowing from the different cultures. I love that.
Yeah, some people don't like that. Usually not the people that eat the food. Usually the people that are looking at the photos online. But we have to take feedback from everybody.
Yeah, I mentioned that I was doing a lobster roll class, probably a hands-on cooking class, and I got beat down because I said I was going to put basil in with the butter to poach the lobster. I never referred to it as a Maine lobster roll or a Connecticut lobster roll, but they were very upset that there was basil in there because it should only be butter, and otherwise it's just not a lobster roll.
It just, I don't really understand that part. Basil just add more flavor to the dish, and I call them the food police.
I've learned not to argue because my wife's from Philadelphia, and so to her, anything that is a Philly cheesesteak has to be made physically in Philadelphia with the right bread and the right cheese, and anything else is just they're a dirty liar. So I've learned to just nod my head and move on and enjoy what I'm eating. But
Absolutely, absolutely. But it's funny.
Lisa Keys says, "What is the favorite dish you learned from your mom?" You mentioned the gnocchi, so I'm curious to hear what do you still love that your mom taught you?
Well, definitely the gnocchi. And something that my mom always liked to do is empanadas. So she liked to make the dough back in the day, and then she just roll it and just stuff it and fry it. We in Brazil we call pastel. So it's very popular here in US as empanadas. Gnocchi. She loves to do some stews, barbecue. She likes to cook a little bit.
Nice. Judy says, "Where were you originally from? Where did you grow up?"
Well, I was born and raised in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and I moved to Houston in 2007. I was 22, and I fell in love with the city. I never wanted to leave, and then I just go to Brazil to see my family, and then just for vacation.
Nice. Have you been there, Judy? Judy's my aunt, and she worked with 3M all over South America. So I know I'm sure she was very curious because of that. She's been to a lot of countries down there.
Nice.
We also have David LaForce joining us. How's it going, David? Nice to see you joining in. He's another regular and also one of the volunteers with the ISVA helping us out. We got Ray joining us. How's it going, Ray? Nice to see you again. Going through some of the comments. We have, Mike says he wouldn't have pictured stroganoff in Latin America, which is, I had not heard of that either. That's awesome. I love just how many dishes are similar around the world.
Absolutely. I'm not sure what culture actually took that dish to Brazil, but it's very popular. But I noticed here in US, we make with egg noodles, and over there we do with rice, like white rice and French fries in the side. And usually we eat more chicken stroganoff.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to jump to something here because this has been the talk of some of the Facebook groups lately. So we need to get the opinion of the expert here. You lately just put out this recipe for your flan, which just looks amazing. Can you talk us a little bit about your flan process? Because this was, I think, got one of the biggest responses in a while on everything on any of the food groups.
Yeah, I saw there was a similar recipe. First is my favorite dessert. I have my sister-in-law. She makes that dish. Every time I go to Brazil, she makes for me. So it's by far my favorite one. And I was looking to the recipe. I asked her, and then I tweet a little thing because I don't like when it's extremely sweet. And so I cut the sugar, just use condensed milk, and I use mason jars. So I make my own caramel, put in the mason jar, make the batter, put inside the container, sous vide for about an hour and a half.
Right.
And then if I'm not mistaken, I do 185 for the temperature. And I just let it cool overnight. A lot of people like to take off before that, but don't. When you put it overnight, it helps keep the shape a little better. And the next day, you can just run the knife around and just take from the mason jar in on top of a plate, or you can bain marie the bottle so the caramel are gonna soften a little bit more, and then you just flip on top of the plate. But this one, I always a day before just run the knife, put on top, make sure that the good side that was facing the camera, and that's it.
I can relate to that. You're like, what side is best that I actually want for people to see, and the back doesn't always look quite as nice.
Yeah. And I want to thank my fiance Valeria because she's the one who takes my photos, and she became an amazing photographer.
She does a great job. Mike and I have talked a lot about the pictures on your Instagram account, and I think he commented that be warned, if you peruse Thiago's Instagram account, you will walk away starving.
Yeah, I take the photos in the balcony over here behind me.
What goes into a flan batter?
Condensed milk, eggs, and milk, and that's it.
Nice and simple.
Oh, sorry, the vanilla extract. So you can use extract of the actual vanilla beans, but it depends what you're making at home. But it's very simple, just 4 ingredients.
It's amazing, and they are so flavorful and good. And I love just your simple plating, and it looks amazing.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it very simple, very clean. I think it's better visually. Some people think that I don't eat too much because my plates are usually small, but I just tell people, guys, you have to see the plate after the photo. It's always the double of that.
Yeah, I've joked about wanting to do an Instagram account that it's just the plated dish, and then the dish that I was eating on my lap in the living room afterwards. It's just already chopped up and mashed together and looks horrible.
No, it's funny. I have a friend in Brazil, then he never takes a photo of the plate with the food, but he always takes the photo after he eats. So it's just messy plate. And I talk, it's so funny because nobody's doing that.
I love that. It's a great take on it. I'm not going to let this go cold just so all of you can see a good picture. I'm going to enjoy it, and then you get what you get at the end.
That's it.
David LaForce asks, what is something that you never thought you'd do sous vide, but now you really love to do that way?
I think probably salmon. I like to sous vide fish. And because if you think about it, if you're doing a salmon in the pan sear or in the oven, it only takes 7 to 15 minutes, depends the temperature you want. And then when you sous vide, you're doing for 45 minutes, an hour, and you tripled 4 the time, but you're actually getting a better result.
What is your go-to salmon temperature? I feel like we've had a lot of discussions about fish, and some of our guests love it. Some of our guests really don't like it, and it's really in between. So I always love when someone really likes it because they have great insights.
I would say between 127 to 131. I'm not down to the number all the time. I just I like to keep it very simple. I see information from the Sous Vide Association or a Nova app or any app that I'm using. But for fish, I like it medium rare, especially the salmon. It's sushi grade. So even though if I'm eating rare or close to rare, I know it's not gonna make me sick.
Yeah, you still know that you're going to be safe, which is always very important.
Yeah, but I would say a 127 to 129 is a good number.
Nice. Do you sear it afterwards, or do you normally just sauce it or plate it directly?
I like to sear. Yeah, even if I'm just doing a torch sear, I think it's just appealing to the eye. I don't think it adds too much to the flavor, but definitely I eat before my eyes, so I need to sear.
Yeah, it definitely gives it just that little visual pop that we're a lot more used to, I think, than when it's just the off-white. What other fish do you like to cook?
In the page, I did a codfish. It was actually pretty good, very tender. What else? Oh, one time I did something, and it was kind of interesting because I had no idea if it would work. I bought a whole fish. I think it was a drumfish. Yes, it was. And I marinated the shrimp, and I stuffed the fish with shrimp, and I vacuum seal a sous vide. And I was worried to see if the fish, this shrimp inside the fish would be cooked, and it was delicious. And I posted the recipe online, and people really liked it. Some people actually did at home.
That sounds amazing. That's a great idea to kind of combine them to maximize the flavor in the dish.
Yeah, I love it. It was definitely the one you want to repeat.
Recently, you made some Wagyu beef kebabs. I want to pull these up here so people can see them because they looked amazing as well. What was the Like, what's your process for cooking ground beefs, especially when it's in kebab form?
I like to mix a lot with the vegetables. I believe I did a couple different hot sauces, California peppers, onions, garlic for sure. And it's pretty much just let it marinate. I didn't like to put too much salt in the beginning. I didn't want to dehydrate the meat a little bit or just expel any type of juices. But after that, I just make into the shapes, usually a little circle. And then instead of using sticks this time, I had some cinnamon sticks. So I actually use the cinnamon to infuse the meat with the smell because I actually pan sear and a few of them I put in the oven. So it really brings the cinnamon flavor to the meat as well.
So did you put the cinnamon in after you cooked it sous vide, or did you put it in
Before.
before it? Cool.
Before, yeah. I recommend putting before, so that way even the meat and the cinnamon, they have a little bit of water on it. So if you steam it or if you put it in the oven baking, it's still gonna release some of the aromatics from the cinnamon, and then infuses a little bit of the meat as well.
Mike asks, on the kebabs, how do you keep the meat together when you seal it? Do you par freeze it, or how do you keep it from smashing apart?
For this one, I put in the freezer for a little bit just to hold the shape a little bit. But you can always use, for example, uh, panko bread. So any type of bread crumbs will also help. Just like if you make a meatball and you want to firm a little bit, you can use egg yolks to as a glue, and then you put a little bit of a bread crumbs for helping the shape.
Nice. I love kebabs, and I need to experiment with those a lot more. I think my wife would appreciate that. And those just jumped out to me as looking amazing.
Yeah, that one I made it just a small batch, and then I heard some complaints that night. I was like, "Why you only made 5?" I was like, "Well, I was experimenting."
You need to stop being so good with your experiments, right?
Maybe.
So at the Sous Vide Summit this year, you presented one of your infusions at the cocktail hour, which was super cool to see. What infusions have you been working on lately?
I did one yesterday. Actually, I always do the olive oil. It's definitely my favorite one. I did limoncello before, or orange cello. Uh, my friends always thank me for that one. And then yesterday I did one for the infusion for next week.
Mhm.
And so it's a pretty interesting one. I did 2 batches, and I think I can still make it better. So I'm gonna keep it as a secret for today, but next week you guys are gonna see it.
Nice. I'm really looking forward to seeing what everyone comes up with. There's some cool stuff going on, and there's fun sneak peek of Lisa Keys' video. It's she does some really fun stuff, a lot more involved than I was expecting, which I love. It looked really, really cool.
Yeah, when you introduced the recipe that she's doing, it was really exciting. She's very creative.
Yeah. Where did you come up with your flavor combinations for your infusions?
I like to think about the food that I like to be eating. So, for example, if I'm eating a risotto and then I feel, well, I think you could have more herbs to it. Let's say rosemary or thyme. Uh, and then I kind of go backwards. I like to think about if I'm doing, for example, the beef stroganoff, and I would definitely like something more spicy. So there was like, well, what would I put after the dish is ready for flavor? So I was like, well, I can definitely do some heat. So I make olive oil with red pepper flakes or Thai chilies or habaneros or something. And then I have this infused olive oil in a little can, and then just go trying from there. Or simple things like, let's say, rosemary, garlic goes really well with. So I was like, well, let me put this together. Uh, Black garlic, I'm a huge fan of black garlic. So I was like, well, I want to create something like that for the next one as well.
Nice. And then you can just use those oils to kind of layer flavors on top of the dish that you've already made.
Absolutely, yes.
What's your go-to temperature for olive oil? I'm never quite sure.
Well, definitely above 140, just for the safety reason. 140, it's a good temperature to kill any type of bacteria, or at least 99% of those. But my to go, it's around 145. I like to lay a little longer. Some people, they don't only do for an hour. I like to do 3 hours at least. And I like to keep in the refrigerator for at least another 24 hours. So it keeps, because the infusion doesn't stop after you sous vide, because the oil is still warm, so it's still infusing. So I like to bring it to a temperature first, room temperature first, and then I put it in the fridge. Of course, the olive oil you're gonna be a little more cloudy than usual, but actually I'm going for flavor, not so much for clear. So I like to keep in the fridge for at least one more day, and then if I have to continue infusing for example, smoking or something, I like to add after that.
Nice. And do you usually strain it out after it's been in the fridge for a day, or do you leave the infusing ingredient in it most of the time?
No, I do take them out, because if you keep it, let's say you keep a garlic or rosemary, you're gonna spoil a lot faster. And I noticed one time I did black truffle, olive oil infusion, and I kept the truffle inside, and then after a week and a half, I noticed there was some bacteria growing, so I had to trash it. So what I do now is strain it and just keep the liquid. And I noticed the 2 months, no problem.
Oh, nice. A lot of people ask, and I always say that I strain it, but I also clarify with, I'm not sure if you need to, but I do, because that seems like what you should do. So I appreciate you sharing your expertise.
Yeah, it's I don't think you infuse that much anymore, because you kind of extract a lot of the flavor. It looks beautiful in the bottle for sure. But I don't think you do much to the flavor unless you keep putting more all the time. But I would just take it off, and then if you have to infuse more, infuse more.
I think Chef Petranzik he was talking about infusions. I think it was last week, and he was saying that if he ever wants like a pretty presentation in the bottle, he will, after he's strained it, he'll re-put in a fresh version so it looks pretty and it's not wilted and sucked of all of its flavor, and then it looks nice on the table, but he's not doing it to keep the infusion,
Right.
kind of freshen it up a little bit.
And if you're only using for a week or two, yeah, put the rosemary, garlic, whatever you want to put inside. But I wanted to keep it as long as I can. And then I'm experimenting as well. And also it's available on my website. So we start shipping those nationwide. So if anybody be interested, just reach out to the Instagram and website. I'm selling those as well.
And that's at Robusto Food.
.com, yes. Or on my Instagram.
Nice. And you said you keep you generally store them in the refrigerator for maximum shelf life, right?
I'm sure that if you keep in the refrigerator, they're gonna last a little longer. But actually, I like to keep it off because I want to be room temperature.
So you can drizzle it as opposed to spoon it out.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
The nice presentation. You're going for flavor, but it doesn't hurt to have a little nicer presentation than gelled olive oil on top of your food.
Absolutely, and I use it for everything. That's how I actually found out it was delicious. Was one day I run out of butter, and it never happens in my house. I have stocks of butter in the fridge, and one day I didn't have it, so I had a new batch of my olive oil, and I decided to warm up a little bit to just, soft the bread, and then before I start making my grilled cheese. And I noticed when you heat a little bit of the olive oil, of course, it's not recommended for frying or anything like that. But if you keep under 320, 330, it doesn't smoke that much. And it's not as bad for you. Nobody gonna get sick. Hopefully, nobody gonna get sick. But I did it for myself first, and that's what I realized. The flavor actually came alive, and that's what I was like. I got something here that I didn't notice because I had it for a while, and that's like before it was just using salads, dipping bread. But then when I did the grilled cheese, it was a game change for me. That's what I was like, I'm doing everything with this now.
It's amazing, just a little bit of heat, how it can release those aromas and kind of bump up that flavor a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I like to smoke it with mesquite wood a little bit after the infusion. The smoke flavor came alive too. So that was probably the best grilled cheese of my life.
Your fiance says that you love grilled cheese for breakfast. I love having her on to get the inside unadulterated scoop on Thiago.
I love bread and cheese, so she knows.
It's hard to go wrong with that combination at any time of day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Judy Jones wants to know, have you ever done any infusions with passion fruit?
Passion fruit. No, no. Usual passion fruit I do for one time I did a glaze for a salmon with passion fruit juice, and one time I used for it was a chocolate creme de pot. It was a chocolate dessert, like a pudding
Mhm.
with the top. I put some passion fruit sauce, and it was very good because it was a nice contrast between this sweet and this saltiness. It was actually pretty good.
Awesome. I think my pot de creme recipe comes out on my blog either maybe on Monday. My mom would probably know. She does our content scheduling for the website, but yeah, we just put one out and it's just amazing how rich a good one is. It's you look at the ingredients, you're like, well, of course this is going to taste good. It's like sugar and egg yolk and cream. And so it's amazing. But the passion fruit, I could see that really would help cut it and give it a little bit more sweetness. And it's a great idea.
No, it was very good. That I made it for Robusto for the weekends, and a lot of people sometimes they ask to bring it back. I don't like to repeat a meal, so I have to do it, but I just didn't do it yet.
You have to listen to the fans, even if,
Yeah, they are being very good to me. They always trust me because I never have a photo before I release a menu.
Mhm.
So they really have to trust me. And the food will be good. They're gonna look great because I don't like to cook and plate and take a photo before. I have to cook it for 20, 30 people.
Mhm.
I prefer to just do it once, and I can do a small batch for trying R&D. But
Mhm.
they're being very nice. They trust me a lot. So I'm very thankful for my friends, neighbors, family. They buy.
Can you talk a little bit about what you do at Robusto Food for those that don't know? What type of services do you provide?
Well, Robusto started in the beginning of the pandemic. It was end of March, and I got an email from school saying that they had to shut down because of the pandemic. And it was, and I didn't know what to do because I was like, well, we can always do all this stuff, but I didn't want to just cook for me and for Valeria. I felt comfortable enough that I could share the food with people. So I was like, well, and I have 3 months. I can try for a month, and if it doesn't work, I just can't do it. So my plan was to publish a menu on Thursdays, and then people place their order, and then on Sunday they can come pick it up, or we can deliver to their home, and it off my kitchen, and small quantity. And I remembered since the beginning, I did one weekend, it was awesome. And then on the second one was great. And the third, it was awesome. And it was only supposed to last the month of April. And we are already 6 months, and then we're getting restaurants calling, and I got people want to cook uh, for the cater for their wedding, or just do a cooking class of something they saw in the Instagram page. So I'm pretty blessed, and because initially the Robusto was supposed to start as a pop-up dinner in my house. So we bought this house, I believe it was May, and by the time we set everything up, I wanted to make. I believe by November we sure start hosting private dinners here, and it was never intended to be a Sunday meal, but because of the pandemic, it came a lot sooner, and feedback has been great so far.
That's awesome. It's great when you start something like that you're just going to have for a little bit, and then everyone loves what you're doing so much that you have to keep it going. That's a huge compliment from everyone.
Yeah, I was definitely surprised. I'm very thankful for everybody that have been supporting, even people buying the olive oil. We sent it to so many states already, and then the feedback from the olive oil has been great too. So I always like to hear the feedback and see how the people are actually cooking at home and sharing. I love social media because that's the reason people really embrace and they try. If they don't like it, they don't like it. They can share their opinion. But it's been truly blessed.
Have you run into any unique challenges now that you've been cooking for larger groups?
Yes, yes. Because I don't like Robusto to be cooked the day before, 2 days before. Even though they place the order on Thursdays, the food it needs to be cooked on Sunday. Because I don't want to cook on maybe a day before, keep in the fridge, and then they take it home and then just warm up in the microwave. I still want to be warm. They might need to warm up a little bit in their house, but definitely not going to be a refrigerated food. I feel like refrigerate changed the flavor. So I have to wake up at 5 in the morning on a Sunday. It's searing steaks outside. So my neighbors think that I'm crazy because I'm searing 30 ribeyes at 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning.
I wish I could wake up to the scent of grilled ribeyes outside my window. That'd be an amazing thing to wake up at 5 in the morning with.
Yeah, they do. My neighbors over here, I'm sure they pretty confused with what I'm doing, but it makes sense. I wanted for them to have the best. I don't like the idea of my food being straight to the microwave before their mouth, but I understand we have to adapt to the situation and cannot have 30 people come to my house and eat at this moment.
Yep.
And my fiance, she'd probably kill me if I had 30 people here. But definitely, I want to make it as fresh as possible. So I do the mise en place on Saturday, but all the cooking it's on Sunday.
Nice. We have Monique says, very proud of her brother. Success, Thiago.
She's awesome. She motivates a lot, and she's very embracing you with everything that I'm doing right now.
Nice. I think you mentioned this earlier, but Mike says, where can folks order the olive oil? And that's from either your Instagram or robustofood.com.
Yeah, they can easily send a message to any of the social media. They can find me. It could be my chef's page or Robusto Food, and we can conversate from there. Get the address, calculate shipment. Usually it's about $10 to $15 for shipment. We have to pack very secure so we wouldn't have any leaks or breakage. But in case that happened, thank God it didn't happen so far. But if it happened, we'll send another one for sure.
Yeah, shipping is always an adventure. That was new to us. We have our sous vide timing rulers that you can, if you're new to sous vide, you can hold it up next to the food, and it's a ruler that shows you how long you need to cook, tender meats for. And those things, like 10% of them just disappear into somewhere in the postal system. There's a stack of sous vide timing rulers that will never see the light of day. Archaeologists will find them 200 years from now and just wonder what we were doing.
Yeah.
Luckily, they aren't expensive, so we can just reship out another one. They're not olive oil.
Yeah.
Do you turn to sous vide for some of your food prep for your larger groups in the Robusto Food?
Yes. I think one time I had to do a lot of steaks. There was one Brazilian dish that I decided to do. It's pretty much kebabs in a steak. So it was a mix between beef and chicken and vegetables. So I wanted to do sous vide because I wanted to guarantee the chicken was very tender and the steaks as well. So I had to do probably was close to 10 pounds of chicken breast and then another for the filet mignon, the vegetables, everything was actually just grill. So it still got a little bit of the bite to it. But it's definitely a lot. I have 3 circulators and it all was working.
Do you have a specific brand of circulator you like, or are you trying to stay agnostic circulator on record at least?
No, I prefer to try them and then be the judge. No brand. They have brands they send me. There's circulated. I use it. They work great. But I'm not. No, I'm not. I don't have like a brand, and it's close to my heart. No.
Mhm. And you had mentioned that you also partner with local home cooks. Is that correct, to help them kind of move their businesses forward?
Yes, that's something that we wanted to do for Robusto. We sometimes when you're not invited to the party, you decide to create your own party, right? So that's what I wanted to do. I want Robusto to be part of a community, and the community is being very embraced as a client level. But I wanted to actually talk to all the chefs and cooks, especially for desserts. So I started reaching out to mothers, single mothers or not. They making the desserts. So
Hmm.
any type of pastry or cake or truffles, I decided to just invite them to be part of the weekend. For example, I was doing Argentinian street food edition. So I wanted to make the alfajores. I could go ahead and make my own, or I can just say, just amazing person that knows how to make. So I reach out to them and say, uh, I want to buy from you, but I won't have the number until probably Thursday night or Friday night. Can you deliver 50 alfajores by Sunday? And so I
I will
was
need
like,
between 5 and 50. Is that something you could do? If so, I'm happy to work with you.
yeah. So that's what I did, and then did for the Brazilian weekend, and then I'm planning French street food. So I already talked to the pastry chef that is going to be helping, and then she got a full-time job, and then she's doing because she went to culinary school for pastry and baking. So and then she focusing French pastries. So it was an easy choice for me, and so it was like, yeah. So that's what I would like to do.
I love that concept of looking at something and being like, well, I could do this myself, or I could continue to build up the local community and get to know the people around you and just kind of raise everyone instead of just yourself. I think that's an amazing philosophy. It's
Yeah,
impressive.
it's definitely something that we want to do, and there's no reason to wait for 5 years to make that work. The good thing about the beginning is that you can try so many things, and if it doesn't work, you just change. And we definitely noticed that way I can focus 100% of the food. I don't have to stay until 2 in the morning making flans or anything like that. I can actually embrace somebody that is doing and help them promote. And you know how it is. You need promoting somebody, they're gonna return the favor, and we just become a good community.
It's awesome. You mentioned that you're making salt infusions as well. What exactly goes into that?
Yeah, that's a different project that I'm doing as well. Unfortunately, I could not put sous vide to it, but I first I'm a salt lover. I one time I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take every salt that I have and put it in top of my kitchen balcony, and I end up having over 15 different salts, from kosher salt to sea salt and a few infusions. And I was like, well, I like to understand more. So I did a salt tasting, and I reached out to a few salt manufacturers and brands and asked them more information. And of course, I have my favorites as well. And I was like, well, I want to definitely make this better. I want to give more flavor. For me, it's always building up flavor. So, and then if you think about it, we put salt in every single recipe,
Mhm.
right? Most
Yeah.
of, at least 99% of the time, we add salt to it. So why are we using just a regular salt than the cheaper one you find in the store? Why you just make something a little bit better? So I started doing smoking, using activated charcoal,
Hmm.
rosemary, herbs, wine, just making infusions with wine and try. So I had a friend last week, and I made a steak, and I I just seasoned it with regular salt and pepper, and I put 3 or 4 different salts, and I made three on top of the table, and I said I wanted to eat the steak with these three salts, and I need your feedback from that. And they were amazed by how much a little bit of salt can actually try and change the recipe. It was a beautiful ribeye steak that I had. Of course, we would like it, but how can we make it better?
Mhm.
And then he was like, you should go to Shark Tank. You should do this. It was like, that's not what I'm trying to do, but I appreciate that you liked it.
I'll take the encouragement, but I don't need to go pitch it to Mark Cuban today.
No, I'm very scared of them. So, I
I'm sure
prefer
they would
to.
love you.
But that's and then what I like to do for Robusto, I don't want to just come up with 20, 30 products to just shove in people's face.
Mhm.
I do want to explore them, make them better, cook for myself, serve my friends. And when I really think that it was a home run, I'm going to release. And then you're going to be probably another pretty soon product for Robusto line. But I don't want to use people, you know, as somebody just like trying the food for me. I want to be able to make something and it's interesting, but I like. Because if I
Mhm.
don't like personally, I don't like, I will never release. I'm not trying to make a fast money. I want people to respect what I'm doing. So that's a lot more important than just money.
There's a chocolate bar company that I like a lot. I think I'm going to mispronounce the name because I've only seen it written, but it's like Askiosk, and they do something similar that they looked at it and they're like, we work with a lot of local farmers direct and trying to raise that community, but they also were like, we don't want to just put out our chocolate bar. We want to do fun, interesting things, and so they do. Every month they basically have a release, and they have 3 or 4 different flavors of that month, and then maybe next year they'll bring it back. But in general, if you don't get it that month, you don't get that one because the next month they're doing something else, as opposed to coming out with, here's our 500 varieties that you should buy today. It's each one is very thoughtful and something that they put out that they're really interested in. So I always kind of like that approach. It's different than we're kind of used to here with the mass consumerism. Here's 50 options.
Now I take that from local chefs that I like, or even famous chef. They just have one restaurant, but they just have the best restaurant maybe in the world or in the city. So there's not really a necessity to come up with a bunch of stuff. And you want people to respect you. You want people to actually go there and be amazed by what you putting the effort and work for it. And that's the same attitude that I'm taking for Robusto.
Nice. I like this. A question for me. Valeria says, do I have a favorite salt? There's 2 that I use a lot for finishing. The one was the a smoked Malden salt. And then the other was my wife got me a bourbon smoked sea salt, and I use that one a lot. Those are my 2 favorites that I use. But I also have way too many salts in my pantry for people like to buy me salts, and I like trying different ones. So I have quite a collection now of salts, which I thoroughly enjoy because it's fun using different ones and the different textures and just different, like even color when you're using it as a finishing salt. I always really have a fun time, playing with all the different options.
No, it's great. I really like too, and I like to start from the basics, like the pepper that you use, the salt that you use. I use pepper for so many dishes too. So I was like, well, go to your spice shop. I'm sure most of us have one nearby, and try the flavor of white pepper and the red pepper and black pepper, and then you see each one. Just don't trust black pepper just because everybody uses black pepper. Go for, try yourself, be the judge of your ingredients. Then you can try to make it better. I do that all the time. Sometimes I forget the flavor of thyme or sage or rosemary. I make a tea out of that and just try with a spoon. And it was like, okay, so now it's refreshed to me that I know what's the, because if you think about rosemary and thyme, we get a lot of the smell. We don't get a lot of the flavor sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So the best way to try it, just boil water, toast some herbs, try it out. It was like, okay, so next dish, maybe I'll put this one over here, and people won't know, but they will like it because there's a different profile in that dish that it just nobody knows what it is. You know how it is because you put in there, but it was not lucky. We actually tried before, right?
I love that, kind of reminding your palate of what it actually tastes like, and then incorporating that into a dish is great.
Yeah.
I had this sent to me with the thing. The comment was, "Make him talk about this." So this dessert, I don't even know what is going on here, but I want it in my stomach right now. What is this dessert? This looks insane. It looks like a math theorem come to life on a culinary plate.
Yeah, that was banana. It was so long ago. It was. Can you read the description for me? I know it's a banana bread. No, sorry. The
Sticky bananas Foster with brown butter cake and mango gelato.
Okay, sorry, because I sometimes I go so far and I don't remember where exactly it was. But there's a steakhouse in Houston that I really like, and they make this similar dessert, and I wanted to make, and I was like, well, I wanted to make it a little special, so I did with a different ice cream, and I wanted to infuse and make this different cake and just make it caramelize. Bananas to go on top, and the mold that I did, it was a silicone mold and it gives the look to it, and people just got amazed by the look, but that was actually a good dessert as well.
It looks crazy. I love the creativity that you bring to your cooking, and just it's really cool to see the really interesting things that you do.
Yeah, I just like the idea of play with food. It's always been fun to me. I really like to try anything that I feel that it might work. And I'm not a pastry chef. I don't make desserts as often as I should. But I was like, well, I know because I tried something like that and it was good, but maybe I can make it a little better. So I had to go over and try a few things, and that was definitely one of my favorites as well.
Nice. Mike asks, what's your dream? You're just graduating culinary school and you're doing amazing things. Where do you want to be in 10 years?
I do want to have my restaurant, and then I'm pretty sure you're going to be here in Houston. But I want to really take my time to do that. So I don't want to rush. Then I do have sometimes people they want to partner it up. They want to open, maybe they want to open their second restaurant or first restaurant, and they want to bring me to maybe their project. But I understand that when you rush to things, that sometimes you fail it faster. So I wanna continue doing what I'm doing. I Mike, sorry, I don't have a perfect answer for you, but I want to first focus what I'm doing now. But definitely, I want to open a restaurant in Houston, and I want to really introduce Brazilian cuisine to my city. And I don't want people to think as a Brazilian food is the Brazilian steakhouses. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you go there and there's all you can eat steaks, and that's a lot of people think that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot more to just steaks. Of course, we love our steaks, and I never met anybody that didn't enjoy a Brazilian steakhouse buffet.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that I can give a twist to it. I adapted to the palate here, uh, and it play with the food. I think that just bring it different cuisines to it, put it together, use the ingredients that's locally grown. We are very close to Mexico, so we get a lot of vegetables from them, but we do have a bunch of farms in Texas. So I try to use a combination of both. I don't want to forget our neighbors. It's very important to use foreign ingredients because people depend us to buy the ingredients so they can have a job as well. But I'm also very proud of the farmers here in Houston, in Texas, especially. And so we just play with the ingredients you have, but just be a Brazilian American fusion.
I love that concept. And, I think the things that you're doing now, cooking for a lot of people, that are having conversations with, I'll just help inform what your friends and neighbors' palates are, and hopefully make you successful when you do get that opportunity to open your restaurant. You'll be able to hit it out of the park right as you get started.
Now that's why I love the sous vide. Sous vide really introduced me to a lot more cooking, and so before it was just the page. I was making food for myself, and then I decided to enter culinary school so that way I can understand a lot more than just believing what somebody's telling me online.
That
And
always helps.
that always helps a little bit. And then it just keep cooking. Get, I tell people all the time, don't. It's very nice for you to follow a recipe, but you can create your own. Just be fun with. Just be safe. Don't cook a steak for 96 hours or 100 and something hours. I don't want anybody to get sick. But just try it out. Just flavor is everything, and then we have to remember food is to share. So whatever you make, share with the people you love, or even if you don't know them, just share with them, and that way you can have smiles, because we're not in the culinary only restaurant mentality. We making moments. I always like to think that I think that we creating memories to people, because all the memories that I have, it's around the dining table or in a restaurant. So if we can make a good experience to people, I think they will remember the moment, but not maybe the food, but then know they said, well, I went to that place to celebrate my birthday. They were amazing, and it's a happy place for you.
I think that's the perfect note to end this interview on. Thiago, it was a joy talking to you. Lisa Keys says you have an extremely bright future. Mike says, love it. You're really inspiring. Grateful you took the time with us tonight. Look forward to working with you more. I echo both of their thoughts. It was great learning more about what you're doing and the stuff in your community, the amazing flavor combinations, and moving a diverse array of cuisines forward. And it's amazing what you do. And I'm really glad you took the time out of your super busy schedule. I know you just got home from work to talk to us and share a lot of your expertise with us.
Now, I want to thank you and Mike. You guys are very nice to me, presenting me with important opportunities like that. And of course, you guys have my phone number. Just anytime you need, just give me a call.
I'm sure we'll be doing that. And if anyone's interested in the Houston area and is interested in having some amazing, amazing food, check him out at robustofood.com or Instagram at robustofood. And if you want any of the smoked olive oil, the infused sea salts, and whatever other amazing concoctions that have passed the rigorous panel of testing with Thiago's palate, check those websites out and get yourself some amazing food. Thiago, thank you so much for coming on Exploring Sous Vide.
Thank you, Jason. You guys have a great night.
And thanks everyone for joining us, asking questions, and participating. We love talking to you all. This has been Exploring Sous Vide, helping you get the most out of your sous vide machine while talking to some of the biggest names in the industry. Until next time, I'm Jason Logston.